When I ask for years, I got moments instead. And when I ask for a feast, I got my daily bread. I ask for wealth and I got work and the hands to make my pay. I ask for truth, I got a lady who stands beside me all the way. I got the world in a raindrop, got the promise in a seed. I got all I wanted when I got all I need. I got all I wanted when I got all I need. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, George. That's one of my favorites. Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. So great to see all of you here this morning. Yes, wow.
There you are.
Hello, hello, hello. It works. So I've been really kind of being reminded of a very powerful and wonderful tool and technique. It's actually a problem-solving technique called Ho'oponopono. Can you say Ho'oponopono? Very nice. Okay. Well, it's a wonderful Hawaiian word, and we're going to talk a little bit about it today and the next 4 weeks, and we're going to explore the power and the energy and the transformative power of this very simple but very profound lesson and teaching and process. And it's a process that really, Julie and I have had the great privilege of actually going and being trained by Dr. E. Haleakala Hulin. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about him as we go through the lesson. But I always like to there's stories that I always like to share. And so I came across this wonderful story that was shared by Adrian Rogers, and he tells of a time when he was coming back into the country from another country and was going through security. And you know, there are things that you cannot bring into the country from other countries. And so there was a man that was in front of him, and he said that the man had a nice block of gourmet cheese. And the customs guy said, "I'm sorry, you can't bring that in the country." And the man just was, you know, they were arguing back and forth, and the man said, this is a gourmet piece of cheese. This is really nice. Why can't I bring this back in? Finally, you know, he says, "Well, I'm going to bring this back into the country." And so the man kind of stormed off and goes back to the back of the line, opens up the cheese and begins eating it. Eats the whole block of cheese. When he gets up there, they pass him through customs. So he brings it into the country anyway. And I thought that was an interesting story. And it occurs to me that sometimes we may think that there are times and places where we can't bring God. But the reality is, because we have God in us, we can bring God anytime, anywhere. And part of this story also spoke to me about the idea, this understanding that we always have God within us. But there's something within us that we need to, in some ways, consume the presence of God. And I think that's kind of an interesting thought or an idea. We need to be able to not only have that, but there's a part of us that really needs to take in that understanding and that awareness that divine presence is always available and is always in us, and that we can always connect with that. And I think it's a beautiful understanding and awareness. And there's another piece of this, that another story came to me, and there's a story about a king in Africa who had a close friend, and they grew up together apparently, and the friend had a habit of looking at every situation that occurred in life, and positive or negative, and remarking and saying, "This is good." And one day the king and his friend were out hunting on an expedition, and the friend would load the guns and prepare those guns for the king. And the friend had apparently done something wrong in preparing the guns, and after taking the gun and shooting at a piece of game, it blew up and blew his thumb off. Not a good thing, right? Well, the young man said, well, this is good. And the king was so mad and so furious, he had the guy thrown into jail. And he threw him into jail, and later, as he said, you know, this is not good, and he got really furious and said, you're going to jail and for years. And so about a year later, the king was out hunting again. He was in an area that he had known to stay out of and clear of because there were cannibals in that area. And the cannibals actually captured him. And the cannibals in the village they tied his hands and they tied him up, and they stacked some wood up, and they stacked up the stakes and bound him to the stakes. But they happened to notice that he was missing a thumb, and their part of their superstition is they couldn't cannibalize someone that had something missing, because they would take that in. They wouldn't want to do that. So they just let the king go. And the king thought about that, and he thought, wow, man, if that hadn't happened, I mean, I would be dinner, you know? And so he went back to his friend that was in jail and released him, said, I'm so sorry, you know, if I just realized that if that hadn't happened, you know, I would be done for. And he said, no, this is good. This is good. And he said, well, how can you say this is good? Well, you know, if you hadn't had your thumb blown off, I would have been with you. This is good. So one of the things that we are learning in our spiritual work is to begin to recognize that not everything is exactly how we think it is. Sometimes things are not as they appear to be. But we have a tendency to label how things are, don't we? We have a tendency to look at things in a certain way, and because we look at things in a certain way, that's how they are for us. And so part of our work is to really begin to look beyond and to transform our awareness. Well, that's not always an easy thing. We do things that help us to do that in a conscious way. But some years ago, I don't recall, in fact, I was trying to remember how I first heard about this idea, this word, this understanding of Ho'oponopono. And what I recall is that I was 3 different times, different people said, you need to read this book, Zero Limits. And whenever I heard it from 3 different people, you know, 3 different times in a pretty short period of time, whenever that happens, I know that I need to pay attention, right? And so there's a message there that the universe is trying to give me that I need to listen to. And so I picked up the book Zero Limits, and the book Zero Limits is written by Joe Vitale and Dr. E. Haleakala Hu Lin. And it's a fascinating work. The subtitle is The Secret Hawaiian System for Wealth, Health, Peace, and More. And I would suggest to you that it is what it says it is. It's a powerful way of really changing and transforming our experiences in our lives in such a way that we are able to be open and receptive to the divine in ways that we perhaps had not been before. And so I came across and I began reading this book, and at first I was kind of like a little skeptical, because one of the things it talks about is Dr. Hu Lin. And Dr. Hu Lin, what really sparked Joe Vitale's interest in this is he kept hearing about this psychotherapist in Hawaii who had actually cleared a dangerous psych ward of all of the patients within the psych ward. They had all been either released or just like a very few small number of them had been actually returned to the what's the word I'm looking for? The general population of the prison system. And like I think it's only about 3 or 4 of them actually had to be kept in the prison. The rest of them actually were paroled, they were released. And these are some of the worst of the worst. And the fascinating thing about it is he never actually saw or talked to the patients. He was able to allow a healing to take place and never did psychotherapy with them. And what he did was ho'oponopono. And what he did was ho'oponopono, and after a period of about 2 years, they basically closed down the psych ward because the patients were no longer criminally insane. They were actually healed. And they were healed in such a way, and there's some documented information about this, about how this happened. And so what he would do is he would sit at his desk and look through the files of the different patients and clients, and he would do ho'oponopono. And as he did ho'oponopono, he was actually healing whatever was going on in him about what he was reading about the clients. And as he was healing whatever was going on inside of him about this, he was also, in the process, healing the clients. It's a fascinating story, and it is an amazing thing when you think about it in today's world, and you think about all of the things that are going on in our lives, and what really probably a good way of saying it is the kind of insanity that we tend to see in the world. Well, one of the things we need to notice and pay attention to is what's our work in this? So ho'oponopono came about from, it's actually an ancient technique that was used actually in the communities in Hawaii, and it was for community healing. And it was done to heal connections and relationships in community. And it wasn't until Morna, I'll have to work on saying the name correctly, Morna Nalamaku Simeona. She was a master teacher of ho'oponopono, and she was the creator of self-identity through ho'oponopono. And she was actually named as a living treasure in the state of Hawaii in 1983, and by the Honolulu State Legislature, by the Hawaiian State Legislature. Here's one thing she says about ho'oponopono. She says, ho'oponopono is a profound gift that allows one to develop a working relationship with the divinity within and learn to ask that in each moment our errors in thought, word, deed, or action be cleaned. And so I came across this story, began reading about it, and Julie and I had the opportunity, we discovered that Dr. Hugh Lin was going to be presenting training in ho'oponopono in Portland, Oregon. And so we had the great opportunity and privilege to go down and really experience ho'oponopono from this wonderful, amazing teacher and therapist who actually was the one who cleared this psych ward. And it was a very profound experience, and it's been a very profound experience when I remember to do it. And that's really one of the keys, because it's so easy to forget how simple and easy this is. And yet, when I do it, it's also very amazing to me how things begin to shift very quickly. Well, as I said, I couldn't remember how I began to hear this, but I began to really learn about it and practice it, and as I did, things began to happen for me that were just smooth and easy, and sometimes very subtle, and I didn't really notice a lot of times the shifts that were happening. It's a simple healing process, and yet it is, as I said, very profound. Ho'oponopono, roughly translated, means to make right or to correct. To make right or to correct. It's an ancient transformational healing technique, and its simple message, and this is one of the things I think that it's one of the most profound aspects of it, but it's also one of the most difficult and challenging for us. And the message is really very simple. We are each 100% responsible for the world that we experience. Take a deep breath. We are each 100% responsible for the world that we have created. It's the same thing that Louise Hay teaches. It's actually the same thing that Charles and Myrtle taught. It's the same thing that Emmett Fox, who said life is consciousness, taught. And yet, for some reason, there's a part of us that resist accepting this as a truth. Wouldn't it? Is it not true? There's a part of us that says, wait a minute, you're telling me, yeah, I'm telling you, this is what the message really is. We are each 100% responsible for the world that we have created. And the other piece of that is we are each 100% responsible for healing whatever we are experiencing as a problem in the world that we've created. Eric Butterworth puts it very simply. We see the world not as it is. We see the world as we are. Deep breath. We see the world as we are. And so what that really means is we are seeing and experiencing life and the world through the filters of our own subconscious mind. The ancient Hawaiians understood the power of the mind, and centuries before mainstream science identified the distinctions between conscious, subconscious, and superconscious mind, and the part that they play in actually forming our reality and forming our experiences. And so this knowledge is considered so important that they built a whole belief system around it called Huna. Huna translated means the secret. You guys heard that term, the secret, before? Maybe you heard of that little movie that was out that Joe Vitale was in called The Secret. Well, the secret really is that we are each 100% responsible for creating the world that we live in. So Huna's main focus was on resolving community disputes, but then Morna came along and said, no, this is something that can be done by individuals and needs to be done by individuals as well as in community. So this ancient tribal practice kind of declined in usage, but she revived it as a modern world practice of collectively bringing together our awareness to practice individually to transform our own individual lives, but in the very act of doing so, we're in the process also of healing not only our world, but healing the world. And it's part of what we are being called to do. She called this process self-identity through Ho'oponopono. And she founded the Foundation of I in Hawaii and brings this process to the world as a way of helping us to heal. Well, you know, as I began to study a little bit about Ho'oponopono, and very soon after I began reading this book, there was something about it that seemed really, really very familiar to me. And I'll say more about that as I go along, but there's something about the process of Ho'oponopono that seemed very familiar. The main process is to discover the divinity within oneself. Sound familiar? And it's a profound gift that allows us to develop that working relationship with divinity. So, what is Ho'oponopono? It's extremely simple. It's transformative. It's healing. It's a process. It's used by individuals, and it is a problem-solving process. And so one of the ideas and one of the principles taught by Dr. Hugh Lin and in the work here is that every problem that you experience in your life or in the world is created by memory. Every problem that you are experiencing right now is created by memory. Memories that are in our subconscious mind. Now, they may be our individual memories, or they may be our parents' memories, our grandparents' memories. They may be generational memories. They may be race memories. They may be memories of the human race. They may be they may be karmic memories. They are the subconscious mind. The powerful thing about this understanding is there is a part of us that is always connected on a subconscious level. Carl Jung called it the collective unconscious. We're all participating in and a part of a collective unconscious. But if something comes into our understanding, our awareness, it comes up from the subconscious mind, and it comes up for the purpose of healing. It comes into our awareness because it's coming up for us to participate in healing, and we're 100% responsible for that, for doing the healing work around whatever that is. So all the problems that are going on for you right now, you guys could probably have already been going through your list. Have you been going through your list? Yeah. So we go through our list of the problems, right? And what I'm going to suggest to you, those problems begin and ultimately end between here and between here. Let me say it again because this is profound, but it's important to understand. It's an empowering understanding if we are willing to accept it. Whatever you are seeing and experiencing as a problem is existing right between here and right between here. It's existing between our thoughts and feelings, our thoughts that are going on in our head, whether they're conscious or unconscious, and they're happening between our thinking and our feeling. And we are participating in that by either consciously participating in it or participating in it unconsciously in our subconscious mind. There's another wonderful book on Ho'oponopono called Ho'oponopono Secrets by, I forgot the first name, his last name is Jackson. But he calls it, I like this, what he calls it. He calls Ho'oponopono the karma cruncher. And so it's a way of actually transforming those memories and those in such a way that, and it's a way of petitioning, you might say, the divine to bring in healing energy to transform whatever is going on in our unconsciousness, in our subconscious mind, that is actually helping that is creating what we're seeing and experiencing as a problem. And if we practice it, it's amazingly simple, but it's amazingly quick and amazingly easy when we really do it, when we really do the work. And it's an ongoing work. It's like an ongoing mantra that we learn to do and say for ourselves. And it's based on the principle that each of us carries within us lifetimes of karmic debt, other negative emotions and baggage from either other lifetimes or this lifetime. And whether you believe in karma or not, it doesn't matter. It's still working. You know, the thing of it is you don't have to believe in karma to have the kinds of experiences that we're talking about. And it may be just your karma not to believe in karma, so who knows? I don't know. It's okay. The reality is that there's something going on a subconscious level, and it comes through not just our own experiences, but it comes through the experiences of the race. So employing Ho'oponopono technique is a petition to higher spiritual power. Individuals can resolve issues and free themselves, and live the life of clarity by doing the work that Dr. Hugh Lin calls cleaning. So when I think about cleaning, I know there's a wonderful story that Jesus talks about, and he says that, when he talked to the Sadducees and the Pharisees, he was talking about people trying to clean the outside of the cup. You know that story? Yeah. He says, no. You don't change things by cleaning the outside of the cup. You don't change things by trying to change things out here. First, clean the inside of the cup. First clean the inside of the cup. And I really think he was symbolically talking about exactly what we're talking about here. Doing the cleaning work on our inner level. Doing the work of clearing those things that are no longer creating for us in our lives the kind of world that we want to see and experience in the world. And so, part of the purpose of Ho'oponopono is to help each of us get back to what Dr. Hugh Lin called the zero state. And I thought about the zero state, and the zero state, really, as I hear what he's talking about, is sometimes, he calls it sometimes the void. But the zero state really, to me, relates to what we in Unity talk about when we move into meditation, of moving into the silence and the stillness. Because it's from that place of silence and stillness that is beyond thoughts, beyond the subconscious mind for that matter, into an area of our superconsciousness. And the superconsciousness is always in connection with divine mind, the one mind, the collective mind, the mind of spirit, the mind of God, you might say. Our superconscious level of mind is always in alignment with that. And yet we also have our subconscious level of mind that's filled with all the memories and all of the karmic kinds of things. And then we also have our conscious mind. And our conscious mind is pivotal. Our conscious mind can either focus on what is coming to us from the superconscious, the divine, or from the subconscious, which is a collection of memories. And so part of our work is to help train ourselves so that our superconscious mind, our conscious mind, and our subconscious mind are all in alignment with divine mind. This is self-identity through Ho'oponopono. And I believe that this is what we in Unity refer to as the Christ mind. When we are in alignment that way, when we are in alignment in our superconscious mind, which is always actually in alignment with the divine, and our conscious mind and our subconscious mind are in an alignment with the divine, there is a clarity and a flow of light, of life, of inspiration, of understanding, of clarity, of awareness, of divine ideas. And yet the superconscious mind has to get filtered through the subconscious mind, and oftentimes it gets filtered through the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is filled with all kinds of thoughts and feelings and memories and belief systems that don't necessarily reflect that understanding, that awareness, that alignment with the one mind. It gets clouded, it gets confused, it gets mucked up, and that's where we experience problems. So one of the things that Dr. Yulin says is that we are experiencing life in either one or two ways. We're experiencing it through memory, or we're experiencing it through inspiration. There's only two things, memory or inspiration. Memory or inspiration. And our work is to heal and to be transformed in our thinking and feeling and mind in such a way that we are healing the memories, releasing the energy behind those, transforming those, and allowing that energy to be used in a way that aligns us back with the truth of our nature, our divine being. And it's a very simple process. It's a process of repentance. It's a process of transmutation. It's a process of forgiveness. And it's a process of retuning ourselves to the light and love and energy that we truly are. It's very simple. It's 4 simple steps, 4 simple words. There's actually a 12-step process that they will teach you if you choose to go, and actually I would really encourage any of you and all of you to go and get the training in Ho'oponopono. It's very reasonable, I think, and it's very life-transforming. So everything that I'm doing up here is really not going to give you all of Ho'oponopono, but I'm going to give you the condensed version, you might say. And the condensed version is still very powerful and very healing. The condensed version is very simple. It's 4 simple statements, but it's more than just statements. It is states of awareness and states of consciousness. The 4 simple statements are this: I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. Aren't they beautiful? They're just beautiful in and of themselves if you think about it, aren't they? I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. One of the things I think is important to get, and I think I got confused about this when I first started learning this, is I used to, when I first started trying to work with Ho'oponopono, I would have a challenge or a difficulty or a conflict with someone in my life, and I would be a problem, and I would see them as the problem. You know what I'm talking about? Anybody ever else do that? I just automatically knew they were the problem, obviously, you know. And so I would try and do Ho'oponopono, and I would try and do Ho'oponopono with them, trying to, still believing and thinking that they were the problem naturally. But I would simply say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. And you know, it would still help, it would help some, don't get me wrong, it helped kind of take some of the edge off what was going on, but I still had not really fully let go of this idea or taken on this idea. No, actually, both ways. I had not let go of the idea that they were the problem, and I had not really truly taken on the understanding and the experience that I was 100% responsible. Deep breath. That I was 100% responsible for whatever I experienced there as a problem. But when I really got that Ho'oponopono is not necessarily something that you do with another person, although there's an aspect of that, and I'll get to that. But the first step in doing Ho'oponopono is doing it with and for and to the superconscious mind, which is connected to divine mind. And so you turn your awareness, your attention to the divine. By turning your attention and your awareness to the divine, you are doing Ho'oponopono with the divine and to the divine. And you're saying basically to God, whatever word works for you for the divine, you're saying to Spirit, you're saying to the one mind, the one intelligence, out of which all things flow, I'm sorry. Now what are you sorry for? I'm sorry for whatever is going on in my subconsciousness that has created this experience. I regret that. I regret that I held something in my energy, in my consciousness, that created this experience, that allowed the creative flow to come through me in such a way that it created what I experienced as a problem. Please forgive me. Please forgive me for whatever is in my consciousness that has created this problem. Now notice it's not, I'm sorry, I'm a terrible, miserable sinner. That is not what this is about. That's another error in consciousness, and you need to do Ho'oponopono on that one, right? It's not, I'm a terrible, miserable sinner, please forgive me. It is, I have an error in my programming, and I want that error corrected. The powerful thing is you don't have to know what the, see this is another wonderful thing that I love, and I can share this with you. I can't share all the things that went in the workshop because it's just profound and too much, and there are things that you need to experience in their training. Not only are we 100% responsible for whatever is going on in our world, for the problems, for the challenges, for the difficulties, the other important thing to understand is we don't have a clue. Let me say it again. You don't have a clue. It's important to hear this. You don't have a clue. I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue how to change this. I don't have a clue how to heal this. I don't have a clue how this happens. I don't have a clue because there are so many different awarenesses and insights and energies and things in the subconscious mind that are that are participating in this, we don't have a clue what's really going on. And I think that's an important understanding also. Because what happens is that when we think that we know what's going on, when we think that we have the answer, when we think we can solve the problem, that's part of the problem. And what I mean by that is there's a part of our thinking, part of our consciousness, our ego consciousness, that thinks it knows what's going on, right? And that's part of our subconscious karma, if you want to call it that, part of our race consciousness that says that this egocentric intellect has the answers. It doesn't. The answers are in the divine. There's only one place that the answers reside. They reside in the divine. And our work is not to try and figure it out, not to try and fix it, but to simply do our cleaning, to let go of whatever is getting in our way of our awareness with our connection and our oneness with Spirit. Whatever is getting in the way of our connection and our oneness with the divine. And if we will do that work, what we will find is there's transformation that happens. And so we start with, I'm sorry for whatever is going on in my consciousness. Don't know what it is. Even if I know what it is, I don't know what it is. Please forgive me. And what happens by doing that is we're petitioning the divine to send divine intelligence, divine light, divine ideas in and through our subconscious mind to clean up whatever's going on in our consciousness. That's one of the grace, to me that's just grace. The very grace of God is that we don't have a clue and we don't have to. Because the universal mind knows what's going on in our subconscious mind, knows what needs to be cleaned up, knows what's in the way, and we can allow that awareness, that energy, that light to come through us in such a way that we experience transformation. Of course, the next step is thank you. Thank you that you are healing and transforming whatever is going on in my unconsciousness that's created this problem. And I love you. And so there's a couple of pieces of this that I think are really valuable, and then I'm going to wrap it up, and we're going to get into a little more depth than it last week, and we'll move into our meditation time to do some of this process, okay? So a couple of things about this. You heard me often talk about energies, different vibrations, and we are a part of the law of attraction. We're participating in the law of attraction. That's going on continually. We're participating in such a way that we are either generating and we're allowing catabolic energy, which is coming from our memories, or anabolic energy, which is coming from inspiration. And so part of our work is to transform the catabolic energy that's going on in our memories and our subconscious mind in such a way that we are moving back into anabolic energy. And so the moment that we move from, I'm sorry, please forgive me, we are addressing the catabolic energy. You do need to acknowledge it for it to be transformed. You do need to accept responsibility. There's something going on in our unconscious that's creating this experience. And then we move into thank you for transforming this, and you're automatically moving yourself back into anabolic energy. Energy that is then attracting to you the kinds of peace and love and wealth and blessings that Spirit is always trying to provide to us. And when you get to I love you and you're saying I love you to the divine, it's like it bounces off and it comes right back into you and through you, and you experience the love that the divine is. And so we are then awake and aware to that possibility of light, of love, of healing. So that's the first lesson that I want to share with you about Ho'oponopono. There's so much more I want to share with you, but I can't do it all today. So let's just take this time to move into a time of meditation. We're going to ask George if he'll come up and do a little song for us, and then we'll do our meditation time, and we'll practice some of this process. So let's move into a comfortable place. And as we move into a comfortable place, I want to make you aware of Myrtle Fillmore's healing and how Myrtle Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, had tuberculosis and life was really a struggle for her, and she discovered something. And so as you move into your meditation time, I'll ask you to just reflect on and think on this awareness. Move into that stillness, that quiet. I was thinking about life, she says. Life is everywhere. In man, in woman, in worm. Then why does not the life in the worm make a body like man's? I asked. And then I thought, the worm has not the same sense as man. Intelligence as well as life is needed to make a body. Here is the key to my discovery. Life has to be guided by divine intelligence in making all forms. Life. And so I began to talk to my body. Then it flashed upon me that I might talk and speak to every part and began to have it just what I wanted. I began to ask for forgiveness for all of the erroneous thoughts I had about my body. I went all to the life centers of my body and spoke words of love and truth to them. I asked their forgiveness for the foolish, ignorant course that I had pursued in the past, when I condemned them and called them weak, inefficient, and diseased. I thanked them for the work they did. And I began to tell them that they were free and unlimited. They were no longer in bondage to the carnal mind. And I asked the Father to forgive me for taking His life into my organism and using it so meanly. And I promised Him that I would never again retard the free flow of that wonderful life through my heart and mind, my body, to any false words or thoughts. And I would always bless and encourage. And so let's take a moment now in the quiet of our being to open our hearts and direct our thoughts to the divine. If there's some challenge or difficulty that you're experiencing in your physical body, or if there's some challenge or difficulty or problem that you're experiencing in a relationship or in your finances, in any way in your life, we begin by asking the divine acknowledging that it's something within us, and just simply say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for whatever might be in my subconscious that's creating this experience. I'm willing to accept it. I'm willing to accept that there's something within my subconscious please forgive me for whatever might be going on in my subconscious that is creating this experience. This challenge, this problem. Whatever memories are stored there, whatever energy or charge I might have on those memories. Thank you. Thank you. I know that your healing light and power is working in and through me to transform, to transmute those memories, those experiences, that energy, and freeing it as light and love, as light, as insight, as inspiration, as awareness. And I love you, Blessed Spirit. Feel that energy of love for the divine, and know that as you are allowing that energy of love to the divine to flow in and through you, it is the divine itself flowing in and through you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. Just silently say that to yourself. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. Take now a nice deep breath. Allow those 4 phrases to continue to work through your heart and mind as a mantra. Take another nice deep breath. Let your awareness be in this room, this time and place, still holding that energy of this mantra. And as you open your eyes, look around and know that you're still in that divine presence and of that divine presence. And everywhere you look, say that phrase. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. Let that be your mantra for this week. Let that be your mantra as you move from this space and into your weekly experiences. And see if you don't experience life in a different way. And so it is. Amen.